I'm Paul Reilly, and I am the co-director of excavations at Nesscliffe Hillfort, which is a multi-valet, multi-enclosure hill fort, relatively small between Oswestry and Shrewsbury. The site is relatively rare. These multi-valet sites, multi-enclosure, are only 5% of the total population. And this site was excavated in 1956 by some schoolboys from the Priory School in Shrewsbury. And their write-up was rather slim. And shortly afterwards, the site was covered in trees by the owner, Lord Bradford, and as a cash crop. So the hill fort and the topography sort of disappeared. And a few years ago, there was a wind event and large amounts of trees were blown down. And Shropshire Council managed to do a deal where they funded the project to clear the trees by selling the wood from the site, which is rather creative of them. And this opened up the western or inner enclosure of the hill fort. And Gary Locke and I were invited to see if we can investigate that. Before we did the targeting of the excavation, various other work had been done by Clwyd Powers Archaeological Trust. There had been auger surveys, trial trenching, magnetometer surveys. So we'd done quite a lot of work before we arrived here. And in our first season, we dug two parts of the site which we thought were previously damaged. And this area I'm going to show you is the area that was excavated first excavated in 1956. The geospatial information for this was a hand-drawn map. Finding the trench had to be done by walking around the hill and looking for hollows. So the accuracy of this to begin with was rather, well, not accurate. So by the end of the first season, I'm just going to make this quite quick and then I'll take you into the site. The site we started finding in the entrance, which is what I'm going to show you, the interned entrance, the archaeological survival was far greater than we anticipated, and the Priory School excavation had stopped just above the gold mine, if you like. The problem, we had two major problems though. The site had been damaged by the tree planting and by the tree falls, and a public footpath runs right through the middle of the site, so which creates quite a number of problems. And in the first season, that was quite good in some ways. We weren't digging on the footpath side, and we had hundreds and hundreds of local people come to see what we were doing, and they were clearly very interested. The 2020 season, we were due to go back and carry on and open up this trench further. Of course, that didn't happen. And then we managed to get back this year, just as the COVID restrictions were lifted. However, we had to divert the footpath, and we also had to run a perimeter around the site as a COVID protection, which meant that the excavations were very interesting and very dynamic, but nobody outside the local community knew anything about them. So we record our site in various ways. We use photogrammetry, terrestrial and drone. We use standard two-dimensional line measure drawings, all those things you normally see. But none of those were particularly useful for conveying what we were doing and what we'd found to the local community. So what we did in the end is, with the help of Sean Berkey and Andy Wigley, who are the natural environment and archaeological leaders in Shropshire, respectively, they helped us get hold of a Matterport, and Dominic Evans, who works for PSG in Shropshire Council, came to site with his Matterport camera and scanner after work, and he did a series of scans. And these scans are really quite accurate for us, and accurate enough for us. And you can scan an area of about 5 meters. And if you run the scans in 5 meter steps, then you can, on an excavation, you can build a very decent virtual model, which you can annotate and make available over the internet. So the purpose of this project is not to provide great metric analysis. It's to provide a way of sharing the work and the cultural heritage with the local people in an area which we have restrictions on access due to the dangers of walking through the site and the COVID restrictions. So with that in mind, I'll take you into the site, and I'm sure Giles can let you have the URL afterwards so you can explore it to your own satisfaction later. And that's the second point I want to make. This this is relatively fast hit, a few hours after work one day, and we can provide a interested parties semi-autonomous review of the work we've done. Within the model, we have these lollipops, and these allow us to give various information for people who are not familiar with Iron Age or Middle Iron Age hillforts. So this is the interned entrance of a Middle Iron Age hillfort, which is about 500 BC, and this is probably the best preserved set of guard chambers found in Britain, and it's probably the best preserved guard chambers in Northern Europe. So this is quite a spectacular piece of archaeology. At this stage, although it looks a bit rough, we have been clearing all the rubble in the background, the rubble that was from these previous excavations in the 1950s. So I'll just take you in briefly, and I can show you that these standing walls are about 1.80 meters high. We can see the details in here. I can take you in. Whoops, sorry, go back a bit too. Within here, we can annotate. In the walls here, we have post holes. We can take you, record some of the details of the people doing the excavations, and provide a narrative about how the site is used. Here's the other side of the guard chamber. You can see in here we have these amazing post holes. We're still investigating these to understand how the site operated. But if I can take you here. Oops, sorry. And here you can see where this is taken at the end of the excavation, and we are building these bags to preserve the site. And some of the finds over here, we have some rock art we found at the site. We won't go into any detail at the moment, but we're able to present some of our more interesting objects to would-be visitors and take them around the site. So here, if I pull back a little bit, you can see that this is the terminal of the intern, and outside it we have found the Iron Age surface, which appears to be made up of a cobbled surface. It's made of, the contrast is not good here, but these are green river pebbles. So these have been taken up the hill and planted in the Iron Age surface to create a walkable surface inside the Iron Age hillfort. Moving around the site, we can take you around the back. I can take you around the southern intern, into the trenches. Show you some of the excavations, the depth of the alluvial deposits we have here. And in this particular view, I can just come back a little bit, you can see that this inner wall is broken. There's a big bite. I don't even watch my disc moving around. The same is true on the other side, and the wall has been extended and rebuilt at various phases. So we can identify 4 phases. And the other thing we can do here is we can add our own 3D images of key features we want to share in a bit more detail. So here, for instance, we're looking at the top of the rampart, and this is really interesting from our point of view, in that you can see here there are some post holes in the top of the rampart. For those who are not familiar with Iron Age archaeology, these type of post holes in the top of a rampart are as rare as duck's teeth. So this is quite important in that we're able to talk about what is happening on the construction at the top. So we believe we've got probably evidence of a palisade on top of the rampart, which is, for us, is pretty big news. So I'll just turn around and quickly take you back around the site. So here again at the on the other side, I can show you the work we have in progress. This is a new trench we're opening at the front rampart. So next year we'll be extending this trench out the front of into the woodland there. These trees will be removed by the forest workers there, and we'll go down the front of the rampart. There's an exterior ditch which we're going to clear, and So the excavation will be very dramatic, but also will be limited on how people can visit the site because of the sheer slopes and what have you. So again, the Matterport representation will allow us to keep our communication channels open with the local community and other archaeologists who couldn't visit the site. So, so the geospatial information here is used mostly as a communication vehicle, but to us it is precious. So Giles, I think that's enough for me. So try and bring you back on schedule.